That shit on the headlight.
This kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching. Every day was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame. Like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hit and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
Through the storm, whatever weather, cold or warm, letting you know that you're not alone. Holla if you feel like you've been down the same road. Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. 'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins.
Welcome to FINS TV. I'm your host, Sammy, aka Fix Boss on X. We're back with another edition of FINS TV. Steve,
Sammy, how you doing today, buddy? Happy Tuesday.
happy Tuesday. We a much better win than last week. A phenomenal win by the Dolphins. We're going to talk about that.
It was an absolutely incredible football game. I know that we'll get Matt on here in a little bit, and he'll be the first to tell you that we didn't even play a game. It was another bye week, but absolutely incredible performance out there. What a bounce back game that we had, and we're having a really, really good episode here. I can't wait to talk about it. Where we've been, what we just did, and where we're headed now in the last 3 games of the season.
Absolutely. So on this episode, Fearless, we're going to talk about how we cannot be afraid about what's next for the Dolphins. Well, a little positivity on this episode. Also, during the show, we're going to do some fact or fiction. We're going to talk about Raheem Mostert, how important is he for the team. And up next, the Dallas Cowboys, I see they took a mugging from the Buffalo Bills. But every time we have a big game, they think gets beaten before they play the Dolphins. So I have a chip on the shoulder for sure when they say the Dolphins.
I just feel like it's some bad luck, but at the same time, I have to turn around and look at it and say, hey, put the Titans aside, the other 3 big games that we've played this year, we put up a fight, and I think this time we're going to come out swinging, and we have a good chance here against the Cowboys.
Absolutely. So we're going to start first with Dolphins opening a can of whoopass on the New York Jets.
Certainly sharp with his first throw. Here he is on first down, running, and the ball comes out. That's a fumble, and it's recovered at the 1-yard line by Zach Sealer, who had a touchdown 6 days ago against Tennessee. Third straight time to Mostert. There's the Miami record, the 19th touchdown of the season.
But today against this team.
Oh, Tony. And the Dolphins were up to it, too. I got to hear what you saw there, Tony, as they stuff him.
Back, they can pass off the emotions.
2nd and 7, down the middle. Backing into a first down is Tua. Down the middle. You get Waddle go wide, trying to get to the sticks, and he's going to be chopped up by Sauce. Field goal try is good.
No one's back past that line if Tyreek Hill was out there.
3rd and 3, stepping away from pressure only for so long.
Here is to protect the football and try and find someone.
3rd and 8, and they sack him again. This time it's Sealer. By Mostert, Dolphins begin at their own 40. Going deep, right there! What a perfect pass and play, and a touchdown to Jaylen Waddle. 60 yards and a touchdown. 3rd and 6. Pass pulled down. Jets say he was out. Barrio says he was in. The refs.
The play that they called that were man run crossers.
Here's Tua, wide open at the 20. He hits him in stride. It was 118 yards. They run it. First down, weaving through traffic. It's Mostert. Why not? Give it to him. Go wide. No one's going to touch him. Touchdown, Miami. 3rd and 10.
You have to work the middle of the field here.
Oh, no chance. Chubb has another sack.
A quick first down.
Do go for it. Here's a pass across the middle. They got it. It's Waddle running around in the secondary and bounces out after the big gain on 4th and Tua to the end zone, and it's going to probably bring out a flag here. Nothing. 27 yards and good. Off the penalty. Play action. Deep ball. Going deep, and it's intercepted at the 1-yard line. Brandon Jones has it to the 30. That's a 40-yard run back. Driving to start this final quarter. And they rip off a big run with Mostert down to the 14.
A little concerned.
35 yards by Sanders, and he's 3 for 3. 1 second to snap it. Simeon does on 3rd and 13. Ball stripped out of his hands and swallowed up right away by Bradley Chubb. That's what you do when it's 30-0. Here's the pass, looking at a pick here, and it is intercepted for the 2nd time. Brandon Jones had 2 old pals meet at midfield. They have swept the Jets for the.
Well, certainly the Dolphins filled all our expectations. We had some doubts. We had some expectation what we thought the Dolphins needed to do, and they definitely fill all brackets of the game.
No, it was another 4 quarters of the game, all phases of the game, except for the last punt. I'll give that one a pass. He waited until his last punt of the game before Bailey, kind of whiffed on one out there.
He was due.
But, yeah, we're good for one every game. I've said it before. I'll say it again. But exactly. All phases of the game, seriously. Sealer, absolutely dominant again. Chubb, this is the reason we traded that pick and gave that type of compensation to Bradley Chubb. I said it last week. He had a look in his eyes. And it was on the Hard Knocks episode that I sat there and I saw, I'm like, he's got that look that he knows. Yeah, he knows he's screwed up, but he wasn't going to let it happen again. This wasn't going to be a slide that we've seen in the past. Brandon Jones, Eddie, I'll leave it up to you whether or not you're willing to call 2 interceptions a redemption, if it's redeeming or not. We'll get into that in a little bit. And Jaylen Waddle, Jaylen Waddle, and McDaniel, they answered the question, we don't have Tyreek, what happens to this team? And was it a 400-yard game from Tua? Was it, you know what it was? It was a 3 incompletion game, pretty much flawless performance by Tua in the face of a very tough defense with an offensive line that we had a couple of our guys back, but there's no denying the fact that it was still a depleted offensive line against a very, very, very tough defensive front.
Absolutely. Again, you're on the money on Bradley Chubb. He knew what he did wrong. I heard today that even he went. I don't know if it was before to the last Sunday's game, one by one to each player on the defense, shaking his hand, looking in the eye. He know what he did. He know that probably cost the team 4 points, changed the momentum, and was a huge, really, really huge, a really huge play overall during the game. The Dolphins probably never recover. You may think it's a little thing, but the Dolphins lost by more than 3 points. So and they lost by 4. So that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, coming off of a game where we didn't play well, what were we, 14.5-point favorites or something like that against the Titans, which I'm never a fan of that. We were 9.5-point favorites this time, and I'm just like, man, come on. And we tripled that. It was a beautiful performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go right over to our FINS TV crew, the esteemed panelists, Eddie Chaput and Armstrong. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
I'm going to start with you, man. I know you're very well what you think about the New York Jets, but I still want to know your thoughts on that whoopass, the kind of whoopass the Dolphins open on the New York Jets.
Couple things, actually a couple questions. Number one, we have all of these national talking heads. They're on ESPN. They're on Football Tonight, Football in America. They're experts, right? They know football. And what I want to know is, did y'all know Jaylen Waddle was on this team? Because all year, all we've heard is the MVP, if it's anybody, is Tyreek. It's almost as if they don't do their homework. It's almost as if they don't know what they're talking about. But I digress. My second question is, wasn't there a kid on the New York Jets, Sauce something? Like if he was so great, why didn't the New York Jets man him up on Jaylen one-on-one all game? Where was he? He was lost in the sauce, right? The New York Jets, they proved exactly who they are. Oh, your offensive line is beaten up and hurt? Talk to us about that, pal. We know all about a beat-up offensive line. Your defense is a top-notch defense. Bradley Chubb, Jaylen, and Xavier. Xavier didn't even play. Oh my God! You had the perfect opportunity to show what everybody. Remember those talking heads that I talked about at the beginning of this diatribe that I'm on. I'm off on a tangent, and this team gets me to do it. All of those talking heads, Mike Greenberg, the New York Jets, that's the team. Doesn't matter if Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 plays into the season, it's the Jets.
Yeah, that's what the media did today and yesterday. They'll talk about, okay, what mattered more, the Dolphins actually beat the Jets or the Jets beat themselves because they're so bad? They all talk about how the Jets self-destructed. They are guilty of that because they put so many expectations on the Jets, but that's another proof for another day. Eddie, I want to believe that you're very satisfied with that win on Sunday. What are your thoughts?
Very satisfied because I'll be honest, I was nervous going into the game. Jets played a great game. We were down. I was hoping we didn't get too down about that, but they came out there pissed off. That defense was ready to play. I heard all week that the Jets were ready. Their offense was going to be great with Zach there. Is that his name, Zach Wilson? I can't even think of his name. He's so bad.
Toast.
Well, they didn't. And now the narrative changed this week. It's the Jets suck again. Well, make up your mind. Are they good or are they bad? But Miami put a total game in for 60 minutes besides one bad punt. You're right, Steve. That I think he was just wasting time on the clock, so he kicked it high and it came backwards, but whatever. That don't matter. Everything it was great. I was when that came out that there was no Holland, no Elliott. Well, I knew no Elliott, no Howard, that was scary. I don't care who you're playing. It's still a professional football team. I know Matt says they're not, but across the field from you. But, man, that Campbell made a few big plays. Eli Apple made a great play. Brandon Jones, hey, I'll give it to him. 2 interceptions, although he did steal one from Eli Apple. Eli was ready. His hands were up. He was going to catch that, and then Brandon took it away from him. But they put a game together that was great to see. That was a great bounce back.
Yes, absolutely. That's the kind of game we were expecting, and that's the kind of game they can play. If they're prepared, they do their job. I didn't see too much celebrating. Even when Waddle did the touchdown, they did the Waddle, and they were kind of. Right. If you see the replay, they were kind of reluctant to celebrating. That's what I wanted. And Tua even said that during the week, they didn't talk about it too much, and he didn't know what to expect from the team, how they were going to bounce back. I was surprised about that when I heard it say that, but it's a good sign that the team bounced back. That they were professional, they were ready, they were committed, and they beat the Jets without a doubt. Steve, any last thoughts about what are your more thoughts about the Jets game?
No, I mean, coming off of a 2022 campaign where we had that 5-game slide, an absolutely miserable December for the team, for the fans, for Dolphin Nation altogether, we all had that question. We saw it in our comments section. Appreciate everybody coming to engage with us on the YouTube channel. And you know, everybody's like, oh, 9-8, here we come, here we come. They answered that question. This is not the same Dolphins team that we experienced in the past. It's certainly not the one from 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It's not even the one from last year. This is a different team who has their sights. They're not looking at the playoffs. They are looking at the Super Bowl. And you can tell that they have a different type of attitude. And we'll talk about it here in a little bit as, you know, we'll go through some of the different segments we have planned.
Yeah, basically the playoffs started last week for the Dolphins. If they didn't start last week, they start this week, without a doubt. Matt and Eddie, any last thoughts about the Jets game?
I'm good.
So we're ready. So next we're going to talk about our feature for the week, the Dolphins, how they must be fearless going forward.
To the AFC, Ravens, they control the #1 seed at the moment, but they've got a brutal schedule up ahead. And then you look at the Dolphins as the 2 seed. Okay, so right now the Dolphins would have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. But remember, the Chiefs beat the Dolphins in Germany, so if they had the same record, the Chiefs would leapfrog the Dolphins.
So I think even if the game was this weekend, I don't think they're concerned or afraid of the Bills. These are division rivals who played heated games. They've beaten these Bills. They've been beaten by these Bills. This feels like an NBA rivalry, like old Bulls Pistons back in the day. A lot of familiarity, a lot of chirping. Like, even if they do lose 1 or 2 and they have to welcome the Bills Week 18, they're not afraid. They're not intimidated in any way. You know, I hate assuming wins. It's hard for us because we're all looking at Week 18. And I would love to say that I'm concerned about the Bills going to the Chargers. It's a Saturday, it's week, they have a new coach. The new coach, if Herbert was there, I'd be concerned. Yeah. I mean, it's the Chargers thing was so bad last week. But we all kind of just decided, I'll speak for everyone, as fans of the game, you look at that Week 18 game and you're like, oh, that would be so fun. It would just be so cool as a fan. If you're the Dolphins, you're like, screw that. We're going to beat Dallas. Yeah. We're going to beat Baltimore. And Buffalo isn't all that. They're going to lose one of these games. It's not going to matter that much. We want it as a present because just the matchup is so good. And I said it yesterday. I hope it's 150 degrees and the Bills just have to deal with it. But if you're the Dolphins, you're like, let's not even let it get to that. Let's start now.
To the playoffs. But I could see the Dolphins at #5 outscoring them. Do I expect it? No, I don't expect anybody to beat San Francisco. But one way you might have a chance is if Tua just goes nuts. Tyreek and Jaylen Waddle and those running backs who run like an Olympic track team go absolutely crazy and they beat him 51-48. Likely? No, but I could see it happening.
Miami. Now they're 0-3 against teams with winning records, but you know, to be able to go out and drop a 30-0 without Tyreek Hill shows you the depth of their talent. Raheem Mostert, 20 total touchdowns, most in the NFL. They can run, they can pass. There's a lot to like about this team. Tua leads the NFL in passing yards. They're a little like the West Coast Niners without the physicality.
Their signature win, right? You know, they couldn't close the deal in Germany against Kansas City. You look at the teams they've beaten, there aren't a team over 500 in the mix, right? And they haven't solidified the AFC East yet. So not only does it, I think, double, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of confirm what they believe about themselves. Pardon me for losing my words there. It also helps them win the East because when you look at that hot train known as the Buffalo Bills that's choo-choo-chooing up the tracks, all Buffalo needs is Miami to lose one game before Week 18, and then that game determines the division winner. So they've not clinched anything yet in Miami. So beating the Cowboys does two things. It gets them one step closer to locking up the division and most likely the number 2 seed overall in the AFC. And number 2, it answers the question, can we beat a really good team and a team over 500? Chargers under 500, Patriots under 500, Broncos are 500, right? Giants suck, Panthers suck, Patriots suck, Raiders under 500, Jets suck, Washington sucks. So now you've got 3 straight games against really good teams, playoff caliber.
Number 4 on the list. Give it to me right now. Yeah, bam! The Miami Dolphins. Why? I know the Buffalo Bills lost them early in the season. But that was weeks ago. The Dolphins are the leaders in the AFC. The Dolphins are 2 games ahead of the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins have been handling their business for the most part, albeit against inferior competition. One of the elite offenses in the game of football. And even with Tyreek Hill out, Jaylen Waddle did his thing. Even had Stephen Ross waddling, okay? With the white. You get what we're coming from right there.
Well, welcome back to FINS TV, our feature for the week, Fearless. I'm a host, Sammy, co-host Steve Hallett, and panelists and the FINS TV crew of Mostert and Eddie Chaput. The media, of course, had a field day again with all the Dolphins, haven't beaten anyone. It's the same old crap. Well, for one, I agree with Kyle crap this week when they say the Dolphins should not be afraid of anyone. They had the team, they're ready, and my expectation is the Dolphins. Now the real tough stretch begins. The playoffs begins. It didn't start last week. They start this week. But I want to start with you, Steve. I saw a lot of comments during last week feature presentation for the pod. A lot of negativity. A lot of people afraid that how this team with the same old Dolphins, the same old stretch. The Dolphins came out. They proved soundly that they're not the same team as always.
Yeah, so the title here is Fearless, and I think last week's game, coming off of a really, really bad loss, a demoralizing loss, in my opinion, to the Titans. If there's one image that we should get of who this team is right now, it's Andrew Van Ginkel. And I remember I was sitting out watching the game in the patio, Dolphin Cove back here, and they flashed up one time, and it looked like he had some gauze in his nose. And I said to my wife, I'm like, looks like he has gauze in his nose, but I'm sitting there thinking this dude is running. And my thought was, it left my head, but I'm like, how can this guy be doing what he's doing when he's got gauze in his nose? And then again, I forgot all about it in the midst of a 30-0 victory. And then it came out that he broke his nose. What did he play? 51 of 58 defensive snaps in that game. What an absolute beast. But we've seen an evolution this year. I alluded to it earlier in the show that there's an evolution to this team. And I really think that teams are who they are in chunks and in segments, and they can improve. They can get a little bit worse. They're like rubber bands. 2 weeks ago, we saw the Jets go and play the Texans, and they absolutely throttled them. So they're up there, but the next week they just snap back like a rubber band into who they really are before getting their butts handed to them by the Dolphins. So I think that the Dolphins are who they are. I think that we've seen, a little bit different where they weren't celebrating as much, where they weren't really doing those funny things that we saw before. But I think that that's not them punishing themselves. I think it's them realizing that it's one game at a time, but they aren't just going to be satisfied with playing, making the playoffs, with winning the division. They're getting their minds right at the right time. And, Tua said it out of, what was it, the Buffalo game? One of the games that they got beat really badly early in this year, yes. That there was a humbling experience, and for some people in the locker room, he felt it was needed. It's one of those comments that in the past, if we'd heard that, it would have really sent ripples out there. And people were asking questions. Nobody really said a lot of stuff. But what did we do? We came out and we changed who we were. And I don't think Tua needs to go out there and make those statements anymore. I think that they internalize it. The veterans in the locker room, the Chubbs, the Ramseys, the Tyreek Hills. Ramsey and Hill know what it's like to win a Super Bowl. and they're there to produce for their respective sides of the ball, but they're also there to bring this team up to a championship caliber up here in their heads where they know that they belong.
Absolutely, Matt. You are the positive guy of the crew. And I want to know your thoughts. There's the Dolphins fan, and even the Dolphins player, even the Dolphins fans. I truly believe they should be fearless. There's no time for us to be the negativity, the thinking about, well, here comes the down stretch, we're gonna lose against the Williams. Do personally, I don't think these are the same Dolphins.
Yeah, I think there's probably, and I certainly don't use this term lightly, but I'm going to use it here. There's certainly some PTSD
Yes.
with last year and the year before,
And warranted, because
and warranted, especially 2 years ago. If you remember, the year the tank for Tua year, and there were people, Dominique Foxworth, calling it criminal that they were putting out, guys nobody had ever heard of, and getting smoked in the first couple of games of the season. And then the next year, we were showing some progress, and man, we were hanging on for dear life. There were some injuries, and then last year with the awful 5-game slide, the playoffs were right there, and you call me the positive one, and every week in last December, we got this one. We're going to win it, and that's just my nature, and it was awful. I'll admit it. It was really awful to go through that. So I get it that fans, they have that. They're oh my God, now it's the Cowboys, and I really, hey Cowboys, you could have done us a favor last weekend. You really could have, but at the same time, I'm thankful for the way it played out, because can you imagine if the score was reversed, if the results of that game were reversed, that it was the Cowboys that ran all over the Bills? Twitter would be on fire right now. People would be selling their homes. They'd be moving out into the country, getting away from any kind of social media, simply because it would be unbearable. It really would be. So the Bills kind of did us a favor to show that the Cowboys are human. Cowboys are coming in on a road game into Miami, and it should be a really. I'm so stoked about this game, because it has the potential. Obviously, if we win, we're in the playoffs, right? And the ramifications that come with that. But to go back to your point, people need to just take a deep breath. I know people dwell on the past, like I just referred to with the 5-game losing streak. Even the Titans game still comes up. And Eddie said it a moment ago, these are still professional football teams. Even that one that I dump on all the time, still a professional football team. Steve mentioned them going into Houston and smoking the Texans. Or the Texans coming to New York, wherever it was, they beat the hell out of the Texans. Any given Sunday, right? Any given Sunday, anything can happen. There's something different about this Miami Dolphins team. There's something significantly different than years past. I alluded to it in the beginning of the season, in the beginning of our shows. We would rely. Dan was out there slinging it, and you just knew we had a chance. But Raheem is slinging it too. And the defense is slinging it too. This is a different world, and I would encourage every Dolphin fan that can hear me, hear us, have some faith, man. This is going to be a really fun ride.
Absolutely, Eddie, you're the realistic one. You're the one who bring us back to the ground where we're flying way too high. But I truly believe this team is different. I truly believe that this team believes in themselves, and Daniel personally, I think is gonna make sure this team reaches their goal.
If you go back to the Titans game, I don't know what it was. Just watching the game, even from the beginning of the game, I had an uncomfortable feeling in that game. Just like something was off with the team. It really was. It was like all right, we got the Jets next week, whatever. We got the Cowboys. This team is absolutely nothing. This week, I don't know. Right away, I felt confident. They looked different. They played different. I think I think Steve just touched on it. It's the Chubbs. It's Mostert, who's been in the playoffs. It's Wilson, even though he doesn't play much. He knows what it's Tyreek. Seeing him on the sideline coaching people up was amazing. Having Welker there. These guys, Ramsey, Super Bowl winner. Having these guys there, it's different. They were confident last week. They were ready to play. And I cannot say they were ready to play in last year's, because you always get the feeling we're Dolphin fans. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't remember any of that happening at the end of the year where they looked that confident. And that made me feel good. I think McDaniel has them focused, and I'm really looking forward to it. I was worried, just like Steve said, of course, Buffalo has to beat the brakes off of Dallas right before they play us. But I don't know. I have a different feeling this week. I think Miami's focused. I don't think they're going to care that Dallas lost. I don't think they're going to care Dallas is going to be fired up, because I think Miami's going to be just as fired up knowing they're in the playoffs if they win this week. So I tried to bring you down a little, but I couldn't. I have confidence, and if they let me down, then I'm going to punch somebody.
Not me. Well, Steve, any other thoughts about, it's all boots to the ground for the next 3 weeks. All the ones who have been resting, Hallett should be expected to be back. Robert Hunt should be back, hopefully. They said Armstead played most of the game last week. They're key. If they're able to play and the Dolphins are focused, the Dolphins have very good chance at home to beat the Cowboys.
Yeah, we're coming up against a really, really tough team. And I did watch a lot of the Bills-Cowboys game, and I don't know what it was. All I've heard about Buffalo this year and their losses is how bad their offensive line was. Well, they ran up and down the field against what is one of the best defenses. I mean, if I look it up here, Cowboys overall top 6 defense, passing defense number 4, running defense. Okay, that's where it comes back to bite them. They're 19th, but still they're only giving up 117 a game. And Buffalo, the good Cook brother that can actually still run the ball, he ran up and down the field and just went crazy on them. So it is any given Sunday. I do have concerns about Austin Jackson being banged up because Micah Parsons, he's not a single side of the field rusher. He moves around from one side to the other, and they're going to have to be able to protect. I have a really good feeling. We had questions last week. One of our topics we were talking about, can McDaniel make that change? And I've talked about it throughout the entire season. Can McDaniel evolve his game plan? He still was pass heavy during that game, but he did some screens. And what do they say screen passes are? They're an extension of the run game. Absolutely. And they're out quick. He gets the ball out quickly and allows them to make plays. But we're going to have to run the ball. And if I can hope anything good comes from the Bills beating the heck out of the Cowboys, it's that they gave a blueprint for what to do. My thought is run the hell out of Mostert to the left side of the offensive line, because I don't know what the hell was going on over there, but they ran crazy. So we need a laser-focused team here. I think last week we had people saying, take down the basketball hoop out of the auditorium, ship them off to Siberia like Rocky and make them, train in the snow and beat them into submission. This team is going to be okay. Huge veteran presence. And Eddie, you brought up Welker, Fangio. Look at the core, the entirety of the organization of what they have there inside those walls of Davie. And there is no reason to believe that they shouldn't be confident coming into Sunday's game. And we just got to hope that our confidence is repaid with a good performance.
Absolutely. Matt, any last thoughts about the Dolphins next? I truly believe the Dolphins can pull this off. They can probably win all 3 games if they really do what they need to do, and they come out play like they did last week. No one can beat them.
Yeah, I think McDaniel might have watched our episode last week, because one of the things that I know Steve especially ranted on was the running game. And the first opportunity down in the red zone, they didn't stop until Raheem had his touchdown, and then they did it again. The running game was in full effect, which, of course, the beautiful thing was Jaylen had the 60-yarder and ended up with 142 and a TD. But it was clear that something clicked against a really good defense. We'll give them that. That's a really good defense over there. And he stuck to his running game. I still don't understand the fades in the corner of the end zone unless the goal is to try and get a PI on the play. You don't have anybody well, you do have somebody 6'4", and I'm not really sure why you're not playing that much, but that's for another segment, maybe another episode. But
got a catch last week.
Sunday was a really, really cathartic episode in this season. And then I'm like Steve, I watched the Bills probably more like watching a car wreck, because I had the Cowboys in my top 5 last week, and I don't know that they're in my bottom 5 now. But anyways, I'm really excited about how they have adjusted. The veteran presences that have been alluded to and spoken about are there. We're in good shape.
Before we go, Eddie, gonna give Jonesy's props about those 2 interceptions he got last week.
Well, I was going to ask Steve, is that who broke Van Ginkel's nose?
It's possible. That's
No, you know what I liked was exactly what Matt and Steve said. They ran the ball when they needed to. Now down near the goal line, they could have did it last week on 3rd and 4th down in that Titans game.
Yeah,
but they threw the whatever they were doing. I think they would have stuck it in early there instead of kicking that field goal. But they played well. I got to give props. I don't care. He didn't have a great game, but that man played on a bad calf the whole game. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever had that bad a calf. You can barely walk. And he did a pretty good job, Eichenberg, the whole game. He didn't have a bad snap. He stayed out there. If not, we were going to have some guy that was on his couch until that Wednesday be our center. So I'll give him props. All the props in the world for playing.
He had a boot back on his foot. So.
Yes, right back on. That was a gutty performance.
Again, that's another example, Eddie, of the difference between this Dolphins team and the Dolphins of the past.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect example.
Absolutely. Steve, any last thoughts about the Dolphins program going forward? That's it today.
We're good, man. Looking forward to getting into the next segment here.
So next, we're going to do some Steve, fact or fiction. We're going to start first with Raheem Mostert. A little birdie told me that probably Raheem Mostert is more valuable than Tyreek. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but down the stretch, the running made him ski. So going down the stretch, I'm going to start with Matt. Is Mostert more valuable than Tyreek? That's this stretch of the season.
20 years ago, he was absolutely more valuable. And believe it or not, and I know Steve's going to have a field day with what I'm about to say because of the time frame, but did you know that an NFL kicker was once named MVP? It's true. In 1982, Mark May was named the MVP of the NFL. So over the years, the NFL has typically given the MVP to quarterbacks. They're the golden child, right? They're the ones. And it's just been so loud. It's Tyreek. It's not Tua. It's Tyreek. It's not Tua. I just want to inject a different line of questioning. Maybe it's Raheem. That kid's got a lot more touchdowns than anybody else on the team. If you take away 15 of those touchdowns, are we 10-4 and in first place in the division? I don't think so.
How about you, Eddie? What are your thoughts? Is Mostert kind of more valuable than Tyreek during this stretch of the season?
For the playoffs, he might be. I'm not sure. That's tough. They're both equally needed. I can't say that he's more of an MVP candidate over Tyreek. I just can't. But I'm glad we have him. I saw McDaniel had a nice little comment about everybody wanting to trade for a running back. Everybody in that room, the media, he said that. Of course, we were all one of all of that too, I think. But I really don't know. I couldn't choose one over the other. They're equal to me, and this is be the first time that we had 2,000-yard rushers or 2,000-yard receivers and 1,000 rusher in the history of the Dolphins. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, full disclosure, I have to come out and say that I always like Raheem Mostert as a person, but I had so many doubts of him as a player, his durability, his capability down the stretch. So I'll be the first to give him his props. He really has become very, very valuable. And Steve knows what I mean. I've been rooting for Dolphins to make a change at running back, but he deserves all the credit in the world. So going after that, who do you think is more valuable, Mostert or Tyreek down the stretch?
Okay, because there's no repercussions if I answer this one way or the other, I'm going to say that it's Mostert. And I'm going to say it's Mostert because we saw what the passing game was last week without Tyreek Hill on the field. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Cheetah. Everybody loves Cheetah who's a Dolphins fan. But you take Cheetah off the field and Tua is still able to sling it, still able to dole it out to the different receivers and move the ball down the field. He finds who he wants to throw it to. You take Mostert out of this offense for a game, for 2 games, for 3 games. Don't get me wrong. Achane can hustle, he can move it, but he has some durability issues. He's got to get himself in shape for NFL-style football. But he's good. He's great. Jeff Wilson Jr. He's serviceable, but I don't remember the last time he really broke a run. Maybe he did earlier this year, but I know last year he might have busted one. But he doesn't have that home run threat, and he doesn't have the shiftiness. He doesn't seem to have the vision that Raheem Mostert has. And Chris Brooks, he's coming back off the IR this week. It's a great sign. I really can't wait to see him back healthy. He flashed a little bit when in a couple opportunities they had earlier this year. But the bottom line in this ramble is you take Tyreek out of the offense, we miss some. You take Mostert out of this offense, you're missing a lot. Not just the 20 touchdowns that he's put up this year, you're missing a lot. So it's Mostert.
So next we're going to go to Jaylen Waddle. He's wide receiver 1B. Last week I dumped all over Waddle, how he's not the same player he used to be, and he was not playing at the caliber of a 1B receiver. He had his chance, he proved it. Again, he dropped again dead passes and Waddle dropping the ball, but that happens. That doesn't change anything. Oh, he's in. He had a great game. So we're going to start with Eddie this time. It's wide receiver 1B in your opinion. Fact or fiction?
Oh, that's a fact. He'd be a 1A in most offenses. For sure. He made one heck of a catch that didn't count because of holding, maybe?
Yes.
Where he hurt his chest, and I'll give him credit too. He came back in there, and it looked like he was in pain.
Yes.
No, he's like 1.1 whatever. He's right up there. He's definitely a 1A.
How about you, Steve? Fact or fiction? Waddle is wide receiver 1B.
I want to know when he wasn't wide receiver 1B. I mean, seriously, what does a guy have to do in this league? What's he pretty close to being, the 8th wide receiver in NFL history to go back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons to start a career? He doesn't get enough respect. And again, I contend anytime you put these colors on in the NFL, you are going to get knocked down from popularity from the media, from your own fans way too often. Pro Bowl, All-Pro, you can almost forget about it. Not anymore. It's coming up. We're getting small pros this year. But Jaylen Waddle is an absolute stud. Does he make some mistakes? Absolutely. But what wide receiver doesn't? Absolutely, he's 1B. I mean, any other I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. I'd say probably 50-60% of the other teams out there, he's 1A.
Absolutely. How about you, Matt? Waddle is wide receiver 1B. Fact or fiction?
Yeah, I remember last week you're talking about him and some of the dissatisfaction he had. And I'm not a stat guy. I'm just not. But this week I read that he just needs some really basic games the rest of the season, and he'll eclipse 1,000 yards again, the third consecutive year. But even more so, the thing that caught me based on our conversation from last week is that he is performing better this year than he did last year. And you've got a guy on the other side who has gone nuclear. So is he Jaylen Waddle's wide receiver one on a team that has two wide receiver ones? Call him 1A, 1B, whatever you want. Jaylen Waddle is a wide receiver one, period.
Absolutely. And it goes to show that Mike McDaniel needs to do some really think a little bit about how he's doing Jaylen Waddle, because now that probably Tyreek's 2,000-yard chase may be out the window, maybe a little bit down the Tyreek thing and a little bit more on the Waddle thing. So that will change a lot. Talking about Coach McDaniel, is the fun face of Coach Mike McDaniel gone for good during the season? Mike McDaniel is a fun coach. He's a player's coach, but again, we're going to go to my bread and butter. I would like for him to be more serious sometimes, to take the bull by the horns, and so accountability on the players. So I'm going to start with Steve. Do you expect a different Mike McDaniel going forward during the last part of the season?
Well, here's the thing. None of us see what Mike McDaniel is without the cameras on. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows. We see him on Hard Knocks. The guy drops more F-bombs than, good Lord, I thought was even possible. You see him on, doing media row and before the Super Bowl hits. You see him talking to different people. He's the same quippy, quirky type of guy. I think he's that same guy a lot of the time, but I think he has a serious side to him. My stance on this is that zebras more often they can't change their stripes. They are who they are. And I think Coach McDaniel is not going to change who he is. But what I really think is the man knows what he wants. He's been there. He's been with the successful teams. He's been with the teams that haven't been successful. And he has, again, mentioned his name earlier today, Vic Fangio. He's got an old, crusty defensive coordinator there who never smiles or hardly ever smiles when a camera's on, that I have to hope that either willingly or unwillingly has pulled himself around Coach McDaniel to say, look, it's time to get down to business. We are 3 regular season games away from the Super Bowl. You capture that number 1 seed, you've got, or till the end of the regular season, you've got 2 to 3 games to get through the playoffs, and then we can start having a fun time after that Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Oh, how about you, Matt?
I'm just going to say everything Steve said, because that's exactly where my mindset was. We don't know what he's like without Hard Knocks. We have no clue. Camera shows him. I love the I don't remember. I think it was the San Diego game. He jetted off or the Patriots game. He jetted off the field after the interview. There's some fun to that because it's not the norm, right? Coaches they get up there. Well, we really need to buckle down on defense. They're a really good ball club. That's what we're used to. That's been pounded into our heads every game that we watch for eternity. And so he's a little bit different in that regard. But the reality is we're just now, fourth, or tonight will be the 5th episode that we've seen it. A lot of F-bombs dropped in there. That's his personality. Does he need to be more serious? I think he's the right amount of serious today. The only thing I'm going to ask from the guy is, when it's 1st and goal, friggin' run the ball, please. Just run it. Once or twice, maybe. You did really good last week. Let's keep doing that. He's fine with me.
How about you, Eddie? What are your thoughts? Fact or fiction?
I think he's perfect the way he is. He's only he's not even 2 full seasons in as being a head coach. And, I mean, technically, he wasn't a real coordinator. And I think Shanahan called the plays. I know he's always had input on the plays. he's only going to get better. He needs to be who he is because, I mean, do you want a serious coach like Brandon Staley on the Chargers, that kind of coach? Bill Belichick without Tom Brady? I don't. He's having fun. He makes the game more fun for us, and he's winning. Now, if it became a problem and the team was just out there making mistake after mistake, which they do not, he's fine just the way he is. Like, just go back to what Steve said. We have no idea what he says to that team without a camera on. I have a feeling he's serious when he needs to be.
We're gonna see again. We're going with the cameras. We're gonna see probably some different mind dynamic to the last loss. This loss was to the Titans was certainly different than the other. So I expect the team to listen to their coach, to know that he's serious, it's business from now on. So next we're gonna go to play the Dallas Cowboys, and personally, it's been 30 years in one of my favorite Cowboys Dolphins games.
Days later, Miami traded the blue skies for a blizzard in a Thanksgiving showdown with the world champion Cowboys, where despite treacherous conditions, the Dolphins were undaunted.
Berg starts from his 23. On the snap, give off to Keith Byers, counter, over the left side, got a hole, he's in the open, he might go.
Oh my, what an effort by Keith Byers, a phenomenal effort by Byers, and Rick, I'm inclined to think he got in the end zone there, did he not?
He did get in the end zone. It is a touchdown.
Still, Miami trailed late in the fourth quarter, where once again a little daring do did the trick.
Berg out of the shotgun. Here's the snap. Back he goes to throw. In the pocket. Across the middle. Here's Byers. Down the near side. Runs out of bounds.
Oh my
Now they've got a shot at it. Now they've got a shot at it.
It was supposed to be a routine field goal. Instead, it became the wildest sequence of the entire season.
About a 39-yard field goal attempt. 15 seconds on the board. Peterson to hold. Here's the snap set down. Kick is blocked. Never did get it up in the air. Never did get it up in the air. The ball rolls free. It rolls free in the end zone. The Dolphins fall on top of it after it was touched by a Dallas player, and Miami is arguing.
How about this?
Now let's see what the officials are going to call it. With 3 seconds, the clock is stopped on the board. This is going to be an interesting interpretation. The officials in a big confab down in the end zone. Now here is the call.
The kicking team gets a word of the ball at the spot in the field of play. First down.
Oh, boy.
Well, you heard it.
3 seconds on the clock. And they're still trying to clear off a space down there for Stoyo to plant his foot. All right, waiting the snap. It's Peterson. Here it is. Sets it down. Kick is up. It's good, and the Dolphins win the ball game.
Yes,
the Dolphins win 16 of 14.
Right.
Toledo. All right.
All right.
Ball game 16 to 14.
The Dolphins come into Texas Stadium and kick some Cowboy butt. I love it.
Certainly one of my favorite games ever, Dolphins and Cowboys. Jimmy Johnson versus Don Shula. That no game was huge. Dan Marino hurt his Achilles during that season. The Dolphins started great, but they faded away and didn't make the playoffs, I believe. Well, I'm still looking for some stats. I think the Dolphins patient just put him, so I'm going to try to put him on the screen. So I'm going to start with you. While I try to do that, I'm going to start with you, Steve. What are your thoughts about this huge game against the Cowboys?
I think it's a very big game. I think it was very appropriate to have that clip up there because this will be the second game of the season where we are sporting our throwback uniforms. Dolphins Nation unite and rejoice in that.
Yes.
I'm personally, I'm very superstitious when it comes to this stuff. I was going to pull out the office quote of I'm a little stitious, but I'm extremely superstitious. And this year I feel a lot more confident when we are white tops and white bottoms. But we're going to go aqua tops and white bottoms for throwbacks this weekend. So in any case, back to the actual game. God, you play the games that you're scheduled to play. And I won't look back at this season in any way, shape, or form and say, man, if we'd only played a lot more teams with great records earlier on in the season. Or, the Cowboys, they should have played a lot of tougher games. We're both, the first time in NFL history that the teams each have at least 10 wins, but have one or no wins against teams with above 500 records.
Right.
So, look, the Cowboys defense, they got run all over by Buffalo, but make no mistake, Micah Parsons is the best young defender in the NFL. Hands down, he's a force. They're a very, very tough defensive line. I think that they have the ability to wreak havoc, and they have somebody who a few years ago was unemployed, went into the XFL or USFL, and got picked up by the Cowboys, and now he's got the NFL record for most pick sixes in an NFL season. They're going to cause problems for our offense. And like we continuously say week after week, it is up to Coach McDaniel to look at that tape and figure out what can we do to stay one step ahead. And from a defensive front, for God's sakes, keep doing what you're doing. They are absolutely destroying offensive fronts for these teams, and they need to keep on doing that. Sealer, Wilkins, Chubb, AVG, David Long, my God, my man is playing like a man possessed out there right now. And the defensive backfield, if we get Holland back, it'll be fantastic. I don't want to see him get hurt further from where he is with those couple MCL strains on his knees. But we need to we've said it over and over. We need to get healthy. We need to stay a little bit healthier. I don't care what the score is as long as it comes out that we come out of that game with a win.
Absolutely. So before we go to that, we'll go to some of the rankings. The Dolphins are right now first on total offense and number 5 in total defense, while the Cowboys are number 6 in offense and number 6 in defense. They're really, really a good team. There's no doubt about that. Miley, what are your thoughts about the huge game against the Cowboys?
My first thought is, did y'all see those uniforms from that game in the snow? They are the greatest NFL uniforms in the history of the league. Yes. And Tom Garfinkel, I know you're listening. I know you're watching.
If I also.
Let's go. Bring back what Dolphins Nation wants. We want throwbacks. We want them permanent. And I'm just going to plant this out there. I think that if we make the Super Bowl, they're going to break them out in the Super Bowl, and the world will melt if that happens. Mark my words. But as far as this coming weekend, I said it earlier, I'm really excited about it because the Cowboys are a good ball club. I mentioned in previous episodes that's a good team over there, and it's possible that this past weekend was an anomaly, playing in Buffalo, getting smoked by a team that need. The Bills are on the ropes, man. They are in their playoffs, and they've probably been in the playoffs for a couple weeks now, especially when you consider that they've lost to the Jets and the Patriots and the Dolphins haven't. What's that about beating teams that are on your schedule, not beating teams with whatever? That whole argument is just so old. Who you've beaten. What your record is at the end of the season. They don't keep you out of the playoffs if you didn't beat anybody with a winning record. That's not how this works. So I digress. I'm excited about this weekend. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. The Dolphins used crowd noise during last week's practice, even at a home game. They better do it this week. Again, I heard this is a really, really hot ticket. A lot of Cowboys fans are they travel well, and there's incentive during the holidays to South Florida. You're going to see a lot of Cowboys fans. There's going to be a lot of noise during that game. Anybody your thoughts about the huge game against the Cowboys?
I know that stat that Steve brought up, but I thought they beat Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. Cowboys. Well, yeah. So they have one win against the team above.
Yeah, I thought they did. They crushed Philadelphia, and
yes,
and then they lost, of course, to Seattle last night, which was hilarious. But anyway,
the Eagles has lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the offensive line, the interior. Lester Cotton, good going forward on the run game. Bad in pass protection. He's the guy that was giving up the most pressures. I'm a little worried about him. I don't think Hunt will be back for another week or so, and I miss him so much because you can plug him anybody on the one side next to Armstead if he's playing, and he helps. He comes off his guy and he helps the guard. But I'm a little worried about that. But just run them left, run them right, get them tired, get Parsons tired. Use a short passing game at first. I know Hill's playing. There's no doubt. The way he was warming up for that game, he'll be playing this week. There's no doubt. And the guy is from the USFL, and he does have pick sixes, but he also gets burnt like a piece of toast. So you can go after him. Just throw the ball to the right spot. You can beat this team, and you can pick off Dak. There's no doubt about that. Just pressure him. If you can get pressure with that front four, he does get happy feet. Most quarterbacks do. You can make him make a mistake, and I'd love to see Chubb and Sealer hit him right away. That hit. I'm gonna tell you, that hit by Chubb on Wilson changed that game right away. He made that wonderful 8-yard pass that's never been seen before, according to Tony Romo. And then the next play, he didn't make another good pass after that.
He stole his soul.
He did.
Absolutely
did. And then he's awesome. And for swapping a first round 29th overall pick for that guy was an amazing deal. And also, I know we're talking about the Cowboys, but to sign Zach Sealer for the money they did, they got a steal. They better be glad they signed him before this season.
Yep.
But they can do it. Just stay focused. Just stay focused on what you need to do, and they can come out of there with a W. I don't care if it's by 1 point.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of notes before I throw it back to Steve. The Dolphins today released JPP. That didn't went well. But they signed Ingram. Ingram has some pressure than last game, so they upgraded that mistake. Micah Parsons had talked a lot of smack about Tyreek, about how Tua is just a weak arm quarterback, all that stuff. He's going to be probably pumped because he doesn't want to, look bad against after taking so much smack. And the Cowboys, I heard, are not good against team motion. So the Dolphins didn't use so much motion as usual last week, which was great because they kind of simplified the offense. I think it went well for Tua. They were quicker, they were more set. But probably this week they're gonna go back to a lot of motion. Steven, let's talk about the Cowboys game.
No, just I said before that hopefully the Bills gave a blueprint for how to beat the Dolphins. I've said it previous weeks that teams know how to slow down the Dolphins offense. Mike Vrabel did it with the Titans against us. I fully expect the Cowboys to come out there in the type of defense that will challenge our offense and make us think outside the box. But again, I impress upon Coach McDaniel to use that genius mind of his to think outside the box and find ways to put us in a position where the Lester Cottons of the world, if he doesn't get a perfect block on somebody in pass protection, it's already out of Tua's hands. Use those skills, use the advantages that Miami has, and leverage them against the Cowboys and the weaknesses that we know that they have.
Absolutely. Matters already the last thoughts?
Nope. Good.
We're good. So let's go to the big finish and the top 5 power rankings. Well, the top 5 power rankings are getting tougher and tougher each week. I don't know what to do anymore. It's always so complicated. The Eagles are wiped out of the top 5. The Cowboys are wiped out of the top 5. They beat the Dolphins. They're probably going to be on a search again. But for now, I have the 49ers at number 1, the Ravens at number 2, the Dolphins at number 3, the Chiefs at number 4, and the Lions at number 5. Who wants to go next?
Eddie.
I'll go. All right. San Francisco will go number 1. I wasn't prepared because I couldn't come up with anything today. I
know
it's
kind of tough.
Ravens, I'll put it to. Why? I don't know. They still do not impress me.
But they're still winning, so that's the.
Oh yeah, they're winning. They are winning. The Chiefs up there.
Where do you have the Dolphins? Over the Chiefs or under the Chiefs?
Under, back behind. I don't have the Dolphins in the top 5. I'm not putting them in there.
So you have the Lions over the Dolphins?
Yes, I have the Lions over the Dolphins, and I'm missing a team. And why?
You're missing a team, yes.
Yeah, so
that's
it. I have a top 4, no top 5.
I know you talk. I know your 15 is there. Cleveland Browns, baby. How about your Cleveland Browns? How about you, Matt? How about you, Matt? Do you have any top 5 power rankings for the week?
Yeah, this is the Eddie special right here. The Ravens number 1, the Niners number 2. I'm going to go with the Chiefs at number 3, the Cleveland Browns at number 4.
Ooh.
Don't underestimate the addition of Joe Flacco to that team. The guy
he's a game manager.
He's a game manager. Yep. He's also been he's relatively injury free because he's been sitting on his couch for the last 4 months. So I hate to say this, but the Browns might be for real, man. That might be where you need to keep your focus on for the next few weeks. And then I'm going to wrap that up by putting the Lions at number 5.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, let's tie up some loose ends. Going back to the Jets. Number 1, Zach Wilson, so many excuses. He got dehydration. He had a neck injury. He had a shoulder injury. After all that crap, he had a concussion. Teddy Bridgewater gets hit by one hit, and he goes to the bench with a concussion. He has to go to the monitor, and Zach Wilson gets his head ripped off all the way to the ground, and he has so many injuries, but now he has a concussion. That kind of sucks. And Aaron Rodgers, his window closes this Wednesday. All of a sudden, he doesn't think he's gonna play. And do you guys have thoughts on that Aaron Rodgers crap about how they opened the 21-game window, and now he states he's not gonna play, which is the correct decision. But he just likes the attention. If you ask me.
Gun to their heads, there isn't one media person not named Mike Greenberg out there that actually thought that Aaron Rodgers would step back on the field this year.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Agreed.
The guy is a textbook narcissist who just had to be. It was a primetime Jets game, and he's on the sideline throwing passes. He wasn't even off the IR. He was just out there throwing passes because the camera was in his face. From what I understand, the guy gets 7 figures by his Tuesday appearances on the McAfee
$1 million, yes.
I mean, seriously, the guy, you know what? I'm glad. I don't care. I just wish he would go away. I hope he comes back next year and just absolutely gets obliterated and just realizes, you know what? I should have retired out of Green Bay. And hopefully Green Bay doesn't let him sign a one-day contract to go back and retire with them because he was such a jerk to them. But I honestly, I don't feel bad for him because he's a Jet. I do feel bad because he's a Jet, Zach Wilson. But my man got absolutely beat up. He came off of, they were talking about how he was just off of his third 300-yard game of his career.
Offensive player of the week?
Yeah, offensive player of the week. And rah. Look what he did just in the second half last week against the Texans, 206 yards and blah, blah, blah. And he just got destroyed. I'm not sorry, but man, he got beat up.
The Jets are a mess. They're gonna probably fire Sal after the season, and what they're gonna do? They're gonna ask Aaron Rodgers, who wants to be the head coach. That's ridiculous. Matt, any thoughts about your favorite team, the Jets, before we go?
Yeah, it's really interesting the mental gymnastics that they use to come up with euphemisms for dehydration or concussion.
Yes.
And it's probably because there's still not a television network out there that's going to have one of their reporters say on the air, he got tired of getting his ass whipped, and that's why he's not going back in the game. And this isn't something that happened over the duration of the game. It was the second play of the game when he essentially got murdered. So good luck to you, Zach Wilson. I'm sure you're a great guy. One last thing. Human beings are notorious for doing I wonder what would have happened if, and the reality is we can actually see what would have happened had we not taken Ronnie Brown in 2005. We needed a quarterback, and by all rights, it should have been Aaron Rodgers. Now, I want you to project that he had been with the Dolphins for this entire period. How would we look at? Would we look at him the way? And everything's the same. He's a Hall of Famer as he was with the Packers, or his career with the Packers. Would we be looking at him in reverence like we do number 13? I don't think so. That guy's a knucklehead.
Yeah, he's a knucklehead, but you're a much wiser person than me. But I'm sure you would agree that life changes you depending on the scenario and your experience. He went to Miami. Who knows? He might not be the same person he is today. But going to Green Bay, the way he talks about Green Bay, I would be so bitter right now if I was a Packers fan. Like now I'm with the Jets, I feel like I can play 3 more years. What does that say about Green Bay? Eddie, any last thoughts about the Jets before we go?
How many quarterbacks has that organization ruined?
Yes.
I mean,
ruined is a great word.
Who knows if Zach Wilson, could have been good somewhere else. The kid has the arm talent. He can throw a football. I don't think he's stupid at all. So between them and the Browns, that's where quarterbacks go to die. Both teams. It doesn't matter. Look at Baker Mayfield's playing pretty well for the Bucs. And Matt, to your point, if we have to play the Browns in the playoffs, don't worry. I know somebody that knows Kiko Alonso, and I will have him sign just play for 1 game.
Okay.
And knock Flacco right out.
You know what? That's an if you know kind of reference right there.
That's right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I still don't agree with the call. I still think it was a clean hit.
Yep.
But I love your reference. That's great.
Yeah. But that's all I can say about the Jets. You want to, hitch your wagon to a guy that has maybe 2 years left? You don't know how he's going to come back from that Achilles. You're going to fire your coaching staff, let him pick it for what, a year, 2 years? And then when he's gone and you're back to picking up another quarterback who's probably not going to fit your system, they're a mess. And that's why they're a mess.
Yeah, and those cameras went every single so many times to the sideline to catch a reaction. Frustrated with the completions. You don't do that to you.
My dad cussed at the TV. They left that instead of watching and putting. I think it was when Cam Smith hurt his hamstring, and I knew somebody was hurt because they had blown the whistle different. That's what they do with an injury.
Okay.
And all they were showing was his face. And my dad said, "Get that effing guy off my TV." And I loved it. I was like, Amit, you're right. I mean, that was so awesome. That's how I know he's feeling better.
Absolutely. Our thoughts about your dad. We're glad he's recovering well. Last week we had a feature presentation. We have over 8,000 views. So many comments. I read. I know Steve did also. We read the comments. We comment on the comments. We're really appreciative of those people who commented and watched the episode.
Absolutely. No, thank you for the interaction. Thank you for tuning in. We know the live show isn't always convenient out there, but you're making the time to watch our feature segments. We really do appreciate it. Keep spreading the word, liking, subscribing. And if you have any comments, questions, feedback, suggestions for things we should do, as long as it's nice, we'll take it into consideration. Even the dog back there agrees. They want it to be nice. And but no, we really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody here has a fantastic holiday weekend coming up here.
Yes.
Fins up. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Yeah. And by all means, Dolphins, go kick the living hell out of the Cowboys.
Absolutely. Like I said, let's get a huge win. So without further ado, we always remember that when you say Miami, you took a Super Bowl. Fins up.
Fins up, guys.
Merry Christmas.